Welcome to another episode of Leave Me Alone, I'm Busy Farming. Today is December 21st, 2019. Yeah, 2019, almost Christmas. And we're in Florida Zone 9B. And today I'm inside my greenhouse. And I wanted to show you a few of the things going on in the greenhouse, what I have to do to keep my tomato plants thriving. And I'll also be transplanting my black Suriname cherry tree into a larger container. I don't want to put it in the ground just yet. We do in this zone get some freezing and an occasional hard freezing. So I'm going to transplant it, leave it in my greenhouse. I already put it on a drip irrigation. And so I'll show you that after it's done. And I'll also show you the cloning stations and what kind of progress we're seeing. It's been about a week or so. Haven't really kept track. I've been busy putting in that micro irrigation system. So hold on a second and I'll show you some of what I'm doing with the tomato plants. So here we are up at the top of the greenhouse. That's about 8 feet off the ground. And you can see that I've started to cut the main stem off. That'll stop the growth. What I find when it hits the top of the greenhouse, you can see this condensation. It causes a mildew problem. So in addition to having to top them when they get this tall, and I'll trim back some suckers, you have to hand fertilize. So basically, and forgive me, I'm trying to shoot this and fertilize at the same time, or pollinate, excuse me. We're hand pollinating. So I have to take the time to do that. I do it almost daily. And I'll go through all of the flowers. You can see them all throughout here. There's lots of them. Let me step down here. And you can see back in there we have lots of racks of the cherry tomatoes. There's one right there. Yesterday I did harvest my first cherry tomato for the season, or this growth I should say. These tomato plants were started back on September 11th or 14th. You can see there's lots of cherry tomatoes. They look really healthy. You see all the flowers back over there. That's on the sides. I have to top those so we don't grow anymore. And I've got all kinds of Swiss chard growing and different lettuce. You can see there's the red Swiss chard. Beautiful color. I have nice lettuce right there. We've been harvesting lettuce on a daily basis. So what I have to do today, here's some escarole. Look at how nice that looks. I'm getting some leaves here where we have some issues, but we'll cut those back. Lots of Swiss chard there, but today I need to work on this. That's basically my station where I'll do some planting, cloning, and you can see what's happened with those tomato plants. They're loaded up. I have to just basically top them and stop the growth. So I'm going to work on that a little bit and we'll come back, see what it looks like. So another chore I'd like to get done today is I've got these basil plants. Gosh, they must be, well, they're well over a year old. I've got to cut them back. I need to save some, as tomorrow I am firing up my oven and I'll be making some pizza, Neapolitan style margarita, and probably some eggplant, some roasted eggplant. So I have to save some of the basil, but I do want to cut them back. And I'll probably start with this plant here. It's gone to seeds. I'm going to come back in here and cut it where the nodes are and kind of overwinter them and see how they do. I do get new growth off the bottom. You can see right there we have new growth. So I'm hoping to cut them back and we'll get some healthier growth. While I'm here, I just started taking the organic celery that we buy and cut the bottom off, and I'm getting new growth. I start them in a little bit of water, and I'm also cloning my Greek oregano. That's not a good looking plant. This one's better. So there's more of the celery and the flat leaf Italian parsley. Again, another plant that's over a year old. And my favorite tomato here is the San Marzano. So we're starting to get some to flower And I do have others where they actually have tomatoes started. So we'll take a look at that in a minute. All right, here's the San Marzano tomato in the Birdie's raised garden bed. I have neglected these plants. I'm starting to pay a little more attention to them, but I do have, it looks like at least 2 tomatoes growing right there. So I've been hand pollinating them. Here is my cloning station. This one's on a microjet sprayer, and this is gonna, let's take a look at the basil I'm cloning here. And yeah, we're starting to get some growth. If you can see right in between that Ned pot, it's hard to see, and then right at the bottom of it, you can see some roots starting to grow. So again, there's another successfully cloned basil plant. I'm doing rosemary. Check out the tomatoes here. I mean, those flowers are surviving. I'm hand pollinating. I don't know if it's wise to do that, but I figured what the heck, we'll give it a shot and see if we can get a small plant that has tomatoes on it already. And finally, there's my black Suriname cherry that I'm going to transplant into this larger bucket right here. So we'll be back in a little bit. I'm on the back side of my towers. Look at the size of that lettuce. We have cherry tomatoes, flowers. So I've been thinning this out and working over this way. I just have to thin it out, and I'm going to have to cut off some suckers that have nice flowers on them. These 2 here are vined up. You can see the Swiss chard. I have some leaves that need to be trimmed out of the tower there. That's another maintenance item. And there's more of that escarole. I got to get in there, pull that out before I lose it. All right, let me come back around. Yeah. There's a lot of the tomato branches. I do have some cilantro here. Boy, does that smell good, and it goes great on sandwiches. There's looking upwards. I've trimmed a lot of the tops off these, and this whole side over here by the fan, I've thinned that out. I'm actually going to try and let some of these plants just crawl along the floor here, because we do have some tomatoes on them, so we'll see what happens there. Another large lettuce. I've got the black Suriname cherry transplanted. You can see the container it was in, and to the next size I went up to. I have some nice soil in there. I did put some micro char and a little bit of organic fertilizer, not too much. And the moringa plant right there. A lot of healthy nutrients there, very beneficial, edible green. That went from that, I believe, a 1 gallon to, I think that's a 3 gallon. And you can see I've borrowed one of my drip irrigation micro heads for each one of these. So these should do quite well out in the greenhouse over the winter. All right, I've got 1 basil plant trimmed back. I probably should be a little more aggressive, but as I said earlier, I go through a lot of basil, so I'm not quite ready to commit to just cutting it all back. Thinned out some stuff. I need to open this up. It got way out of control. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm cloning. I've got a sweet almond. There's the basil I just put in the soil. There's a rosemary, again cloned, and celery. So you can see the micro irrigation I have hooked up there. That's all tapped into the well. My well is balanced, which means it's not cycling anymore. So when my micro irrigation zone goes on, I'm getting a nice constant run of the pump. And here's some more stuff right there. So that's about it for today. There's that Italian flat leaf parsley, some tomato plants, the Greek oregano, one of my favorites, thyme. That plant is thriving. Eventually I'll get that out into the food forest and use that for some ground cover. So, all right, that's it for today. Hope you get a feel for what kind of chores need to be done inside a greenhouse. There's work involved. It's not terrible. A couple hours a week I would estimate, which gets prolonged a little bit with Primo's interruptions. He's constantly taking his ball into the greenhouse. I have to step outside, throw it, he brings it back. I mean, this is just non-stop, so my maybe 2 hours a week turns into 4 hours with, say, 2 hours of playtime. Anyway, well, listen, we really appreciate all of our subscribers. We're growing. We hope you're enjoying our content. We greatly appreciate you, and I hope you're getting some value out of watching our videos. We are learning, so please be patient. And I do want to thank you all for watching. Hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.